Welcome to the Phoenix Newsroom, a tightly packaged news feature with summarized details about Tubman University, Maryland County, Liberia, and the rest of our global village. Presenting on this edition are Vanessa Seki and
Victor Quitty.
And stories we're following. Tubman University Security and Public Safety Department cracks down on loiterers. Electricity restored into Tubman Town and Philadelphia after 3 weeks. Maryland County CEO warns against junior and senior proms. And on the international scene, 7 children in northern Togo killed in blast. For the details of these and more, stay tuned. Welcome. First, the summary with Victor Quitty.
Tubman University's Department of Security and Public Safety has cracked down on loiterers and free Wi-Fi users who frequent the premises of the university at night and weekends. Renee George, Senior Security Supervisor and OIC of the department, told this station over the weekend that several persons from outlying communities like the TU community, Tubman Town and Philadelphia were arrested and their smart gadgets like phones and tablets confiscated. In recent time, it has been habitual for people living in surrounding communities to come at the university's campus to access free internet. This leads to slowed network for staff and faculty, stealing of light bulbs and vandalism, as well as gross misuse of toilet facilities by these individuals. Maryland County Education Officer Reverend Tenancio Blodoyen has warned administrators of high schools against throwing students out for junior and senior prom fees payment. The practice by some schools, especially private-owned institutions, is so bad that up to $30 is being charged per student, something which is adding to already difficult economic situation faced by most parents in Maryland County who live on less than $1 a day. The CEO, who spoke Thursday, July 7 on Phoenix FM's late evening show Night Talk, warned administrators of these schools to desist immediately and call on parents to be more active with the PTA at various schools. Several students were kicked out of school for failing to meet up with the junior and senior prom fees payment. Following a blackout of more than 3 weeks, power has been restored to at least half of about 7 communities in Harper which were recently affected by a damaged power transformer. Speaking over the weekend to Phoenix FM's Brian Dio, LEC's regional manager and CEO of the Chewe Energy Power and Associates, Wade Dennis, said he personally pre-financed the purchase of the transformer at a cost of $9,000. Mr. Dennis encouraged residents of those affected communities to contribute their portions of $50, warning that no one will be allowed to use the power without contributing. He said the $50 shall go against each customer's monthly bill. Labor Commissioner in Maryland County, Kojo Wilson, has boasted that since 2021 to March 2022, he has settled several cases in which a sum of at least $10,000 worth of damage was paid to individuals by various companies operating in the county. This statement comes amid reports that Mr. Wilson does not inspect the condition of workers in the employ of companies in the county. Mr. Wilson said bad labor practice will not be condoned under his watch and advised anyone who feels that his or her rights are being violated by an employer to visit the labor office and seek redress. Liberia's Chief Medical Officer and Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Francis Kete, has revealed plans for a new HR policy for health workers in the country. According to the CMO, this measure stems from government's observation of health workers' habit of coming into the system as volunteers, sneaking onto the payroll and then abandoning their assignments to go to Monrovia, other comfort zones, and self-sought scholarships. The measures come in the wake of a recent strike by Southeastern health workers who have been agitating for better wages and the resolution of volunteers who have worked for years without being added to the government payroll. When this new policy comes into effect, health workers' salaries will be tied to their assignment areas. President George Weah presides over a cabinet retreat Monday, July 11 in the city of Gampa, Nima County. The retreat is aimed at giving government functionaries an opportunity to re-evaluate their performances and project into the remaining 16 months to the next presidential election. President Weah is expected to task members of his cabinet to step up and double their efforts towards the total delivery of his regime's target, namely security, economic, and anti-corruption, with time being of essence. For most Liberians, the overall assessment of the government has been a mixed bag of blessing, disappointments, and unfulfilled expectations, while the administration has given itself a pat on the back for infrastructural development projects and resilience of the economy.
Well, that was the bulletin of news. Now the news in details. Maryland County Superintendent Josh Proud has called on government to speedily carry out an autopsy on the body of the late Anthony Ntiaka, a student of Tupman University who was recently found dead in his bedroom at Plebo City's Zone 5 community. In a letter dated July 8, 2022, and addressed to the Minister of Internal Affairs, Varney Saliv, the superintendent expressed fears that if a timely intervention is not done, the situation could blow out into chaos, such as the March riots in 2021, which led to the destruction of the Central Prison and the burning of several property, including the Plebo residence of Speaker Buford Chambers. Calls for an autopsy also came from human rights and civil society organizations headed by Thomas Mawulu. Youth in Plebo have reportedly given local government an ultimatum of 1 week to conduct an autopsy, or they will resort to unspecified civil disobedience. Power has been restored after more than 3 weeks to at least half of about 7 communities in Harper, which were recently affected by a damaged power transformer. Speaking over the weekend to Phoenix FM's Brian Dio, LEC's regional manager and CEO of the Chiaway Energy Power and Associates, Wadu Dennis, said he personally pre-financed the purchase of the transformer at a cost of $9,000. Mr. Dennis, however, called on affected community dwellers to contribute their portions of $50 per home. He said the amount will go against their monthly bills. Meanwhile, it is reported that Maryland County Senator Blebo Brown, who also has his home at Tupman Town, contributed a sum of $2,500. At the same time, Wadu Dennis has assured other affected communities that work to restore their power will begin Monday, July 11, but use the opportunity to call for their total support and involvement. According to Mr. Dennis, those communities include Mount Vaughan, commonly called Parfillville, Bunga Hill, sections of Bishop Hill, and sections of Easy Town. We have an excerpt.
Those that live in this community definitely install a transformer of Philadelphia and a transformer to TU Opportunity University. We put with the installation, and so we'll switch the current off. So I want to inform those that are doing connections by themselves, separate for the wire, to be careful. Right now, we separate Bunga Hill, Bishop Hill. White Street is now separated from Tupman Town, TU Community, Philadelphia. If you don't pay, you will not get current. And so the transformer has been pre-finalized. Now it's here because of 1 or 2 weddings. We cannot be in darkness. And so beginning next week, all those that will not go in the office to pay will be on the video call the call, and when you call your client to reconnect you, you pay the reconnection fee. We cannot be in darkness because of 1 or 2 weddings. Beginning Monday, we start building the pedestal right to West Street Junction for Bongo Hill, Bishop Hill, Pampleville, East Town. All those are on our side. We can't polish ourselves because the other people are got angry on the radio, and people talk to me. Even your boss, Mr. Donald, talk to me. That Mr. Jerry don't mind the people. And so the transformer is here. And so I cannot bring the transformer in my yard and the other people be in darkness.
That was LEC's regional manager and CEO of the Chihuahua Energy Power and Associates, Mr. Wadi Dennis. Tupman University's Department of Security and Public Safety has cracked down on loiterers and free Wi-Fi users who frequent the premises of the university at night and weekends. Rennie George, Senior Security Supervisor and OIC of the department, told this station over the weekend that several persons from outlying communities like the TU community, Tupman Town and Philadelphia were arrested and their smart gadgets like phones and tablets confiscated. Mr. George said the arrested persons will be subsequently turned over to the Liberian National Police for possible prosecution through the court system. In recent time, it has become habitual for people living in surrounding communities to come at the university's campus to access free internet. This leads to slow network for staff and faculty, stealing of light bulbs and vandalism, as well as gross misuse of toilet facilities by these individuals. This prompted the security department to put up a warning on Phoenix FM, but apparently the loiterers and violators paid no heed to the warning until the crackdown commenced mid last week. Phoenix FM hopes to host Rennie George in studio for developments on the story. Liberia's Chief Medical Officer and Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Francis Kete, has revealed plans for a new HR policy for health workers in the country. According to the CMO, this measure stems from government's observation of health workers' habits of coming into the system as volunteers, sneaking onto the payroll, and then abandoning their assignments to go to Monrovia, other comfort zones, and self-sought scholarships. The measures come in the wake of a recent strike by Southeastern health workers who have been agitating for better wages and for the resolution of volunteers who have worked for years without being added to the government payroll. He said, inasmuch as it is the desire to see health workers promote and advance themselves through studies abroad, it should be done in an orderly manner, with a commitment from the health worker to return and give time for service. Dr. Kete added that those wanting transfers to Monrovia and other comfort zones will only be able to do so in the event where there is a personnel at the assignment to which the transferee is hoping to go to. Otherwise, the transferee shall forfeit his or her salary to the person who is going to fill the vacancy locally. This means that health workers' salaries will be tied to their assignment areas.
So, because of all of these things, we are working on an HR policy. Within that policy, your salary is tied to your facility. So if you leave that facility, for example, if you are here, you say you want to move to Monrovia, you have to find a place in Monrovia where someone is willing to come to your place, or there is a salary somewhere there and so forth. But you cannot go to school on your own. It's not because you are doing a good job. So the government is saying because of the good job you are doing, we want you to improve your skills and knowledge to make it much better and efficient. But if you want to do that unilaterally, then that's fine. You can go. Whoever replaces you will then begin to take your salary.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kete has dismissed rumors that he has a political ambition in Maryland County, adding that being a doctor is what he has always dreamed of.
We can close this program without asking this question. People believe that you might have some political ambition in Maryland County.
You know, it's quite interesting. To be very honest with you, absolutely no. And I can repeat that, it's absolutely no. I have no political no political intentions to run for any position in Maryland County. So people should please count me out. I have spent most of my years going to school. It took me many years to become a doctor. It took me some time to become a surgeon. It took me a couple of years to have my master's in health administration. It took me additional years to have my master's in homeland security with emphasis in biological weapons of mass destruction. So again, this is what God calls me to, and I want to continue to provide care. Whenever the government gets ready and say they don't want me as chief medical officer of this country, definitely I can go to the medical school, teach, and go back to the hospital because I love working on people.
Dr. Francis Keter is Liberia's chief medical officer and spoke with Rushford Gardner recently in Harper. Maryland County Education Officer Reverend Tenencio Blodoyen has warned administrators of high schools against throwing students out for junior and senior prom fees payment. The practice by some schools, especially private-owned institutions, is so bad that up to $30 is being charged per student, something which is adding on the already difficult economic situation faced by most parents in Maryland County who live on less than $1 a day. The CEO, who spoke Thursday, July 7, on Radio Phoenix late evening show, Night Talk, warned administrators of these schools to desist immediately. Blodoyen also called for more participation on the part of the Parents Teachers Association or PTA, adding that such fees for junior and senior prom should meet the consent of the parents who are the ones paying the monies. Last week, several schools in Harper reportedly kicked out high school students, thereby preventing or delaying them from their period tests.
And one of the major things is about this issue of junior and senior prom. Why do they charge money? That cannot stop students from taking the exam. The reason is very simple. The PDAs or the parents are not working. That's what I just told you. The issue of running schools.
Some schools don't call PTA meetings. They just go ahead and take blanket decisions.
What the parents are doing? Why can't they organize themselves?
So what are you going to do if you get any complaint from a parent?
We are opposing is involved with someone, and they forfeited their apprentices that are designed by Minister of Education.
Parents have already paid up to $20.
They should not have done that.
$30.
You know that there should be the agreement, even though the student will propose that, but it should be an agreement of the parents. So the school administration will call the parents and say, no, there should be senior junior prom. So we have called you people, and the student are saying, this is what they propose. The parents should agree, because they are the ones going to pay the money. They will say there and allow the student to propose that and close on that, and then school administration will demand to pay. If they don't pay, then they will pull out of schools.
That was Maryland County Education Officer Reverend Tenencio Blodoyen. You're listening to the Phoenix Newsroom, and these are stories we're following. Tubman University Security and Public Safety Department cracked down on loiterers. Electricity restored into Tubman Town and Philadelphia after 3 weeks. Maryland County CEO warns against junior and senior proms. And on the international scene, 7 children in northern Togo killed in blast. Welcome back. Maryland County Labor Commissioner Kojo Wilson has boasted that since 2021 to March 2022, he has settled several cases in which a sum of at least $10,000 worth of damage was paid to individuals by various companies operating in the county. Mr. Wilson said bad labor practice will not be condoned under his watch and advised anyone who feels that his or her rights are being violated by an employer to visit the labor office and seek redress.
Since last year up to this year, March, I have raised over $10,000 for bad labor practice against employees by the employer. I mean bad labor practice against employees.
So when you say raised, what do you mean raised? You mean
normally when the employee takes his complaint to our offices, right, and we have to call the defendant for an investigation. Take for instance, if Kojo Wilson was working with Mr. Gardner, maybe for the past 10, 15 years, and under our law, every year the man will have 1 month service pay for his benefit. And sometimes some people work for almost 10, 15 years, and at the end of the day, the employer tells him, "Mama, look, or we tired with you and we're going to close down." So the money work for last month, get your money, and then you lay out. And sometimes they don't pay them at all. So when the issue comes to us, we look at it and go into our law.
So, on the issue of a local logging company, Westnaf, which allegedly engages in the habits of employing Ghanaians and neglecting Liberians, the Labour boss said he is aware of those claims, but said the problem is finding qualified Liberians who can drive trailers and operate other machinery.
In this country, in this county, we don't have any good trailer driver. I challenge them. Our Labour commissioner, I challenge them. I was the first that got into it. There were notice put up. We had almost 7 or 8 guys. I can. And in the final, I said they couldn't make it. I'm telling you, if you have anybody in this county off from tonight, do a survey. If you got 1 or 2, right, Liberians that are professional in driving trailer, bring them to me. I will carry them and will be employed as in day. That guy manager was hacking. Let me give you another example. There is a machine, I don't remember the name. They don't have steering wheel. A mobile this gear thing. We had the notice off for almost a month. We couldn't get anybody. It was parking there.
Kojo Wilson is Maryland County Labor Commissioner and was in conversation with Rochford Gardner over the weekend.